BYU's getting ready to play Georgia Tech. Notre Dame opted out of the game. PK, we've seen so many traditions take a hit. We've seen rivalries go away. We've seen multiple conferences go away. Bowl games seem like they're next up on the hit parade as this game continues to evolve.
Well, Notre Dame has just been hammered on this about boycotting. Take the ball and go home.
Yep.
This is the worst. You're an embarrassment. You're cowards. I think it's awesome.
Because?
Because we desperately need change. The 4-team playoff would have had far less controversy than the 12-team. We thought the 12-team would better be than the 4, but it's not. It's worse.
Well, there's so little separation when you get down there.
Those 4, the top 4, if they went and played each other, everybody would have been fine. Number 5, tough.
Oregon, you lost at home to Indiana, so you get nothing and you like it.
Yeah,
you
really
shouldn't have lost at home to the conference champ.
Yeah, you haven't beaten anybody. Yeah. Iowa. You didn't get in the final. In A&M, you lost to a 3-loss Texas team. Those teams would have been fine.
I think there would have been some controversy, but I get your point about there wouldn't have been 6. Oh, the SEC would have complained they didn't get 2 bids.
Yeah, but they're going to complain anyway.
They really are.
They
want 7 of the 12 right now.
They want 4 of the 4, 12 of the 12.
Yeah.
I mean, their commissioner said 7 or 8, and so blah, blah, blah. I think that there needs to be some standardized regulations, and this committee has all the power. We've been talking about, you want a commissioner, but they don't want to go the pro sport angle because it's seedy. Well, that horse is out of the barn. It's Secretariat, man. It is sprinted so far. The jockey's looking back. Where is everybody? That's where this thing is now. So now this committee has been empowered. Create some form of regulation. Go to where you need to have wins over the top 10. Not back in August or we think Penn State's going to be really good. I don't care what the rankings were then. When they released the rankings, if you have a win over a top 5 team, you get 10 points. If you have a win over a top 10 team, you get 8 points. And it's never going to be totally fair, and you can find whatever I tell you, whatever you tell me, whatever anybody says, we're going to find potholes in it and can shoot them a mile long. I get all that. But there needs to be some form of regulation. And who's the biggest brand in college football? Notre Dame. Who, and you know this literally, who stood up to the church leaders at BYU and said, we need an indoor practice facility? If the baseball coach would have said it, they would have said, who are you?
It wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Sit down.
No. It took Lavelle's stature and all his success to say, this is where it's gone.
Knowing he wouldn't benefit it because he was on the way out.
Oh, yeah. But this is where the sport has gone.
Right.
This is what we need. The days of shoveling snow. Now we don't get as much snow. But back then, believe it or not, there used to be snow and they couldn't practice outdoors. Literally couldn't. So we got to have this. We can't be doing these jogathons in the Smith Field house.
So the most credible person stood up on behalf of everybody else. Notre Dame is taking a lot of heat on this, and I think that there needs to be some reform. And maybe this is just a byproduct of them not wanting to go. But to me, this is going to shake it up. And somebody had to do it. And what is it? It's like, it's a buffet. The choice is yours. Well, today, wins matter. Tomorrow, the losses against teams matter. Oh, well, for Alabama, the championship game doesn't count, doesn't matter. But for BYU, it's everything.
Yep.
We're just, the goalposts are constantly, I feel like I'm in the Wyoming press box, and they tore it down, and they're taking it down the street. The goalpost is never being settled so it can be moved. It's permanently being moved at all times. Figure out something that is universal. And then the committee then, here's what we're going to do. And if you don't like it, tough. But we're going to tell you way ahead of time. This is what matters. And if you play Akron and Chico State and the Citadel, we're going to subtract points from you.
Okay, that's all awesome, and that'd be great. I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to move the bag back. I think it's going to go to 16. It's going to go to 24.
The bag will always be moved back.
Yeah.
There'll never be a perfect system. There'll always be close plays. But this was the most outrageous, and it's only in its second year. I would just as soon have a 4-team.
The committee did this to themselves because that first ranking they did when Notre Dame was 10 and Miami was 18, and then basically both teams just annihilate everybody the rest of the season. And somehow Miami moves up 8 spots and Notre Dame moves down 1. I wonder if they get rid of the early rankings. Like, well, this just makes us look bad.
Nah. That set the standard, knowing that the early rankings are somewhat meaningless. And it's the final ranking, and we assign a point total toward it. And do away with these conference title games. Have a playoff for the playoff. That would be more dramatic.
I could see that happening because I think that's what the Big Ten is already pitching. And I think that the Big Ten now, and they did, one smart thing they did in the midst of all of this, is they decided, hey, let's kick the can down the road a couple months here, and let's decide what it's going to be after we see how this playoff works out and how everything played out. And I think these conference championship games were an absolute mess with these crazy tiebreakers. 5 teams tied for second place in the ACC.
Yeah, but that's going to be every year.
Such a mess. But the Big Ten said, hey, if we had 1 versus 2, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5 playing for automatic bids, it would sort a lot of that out. And I think that could carry more weight now. The Big 12 knows it because they had a 4-team tie last year for the top spot. The ACC has a 5-team tie this year. The SEC's had a bunch of messy ties.
Yeah, well,
it could bite anybody at any
without
point.
Everybody playing everybody. And if I'm your Mark, I told you he was wrong not going after Notre Dame. That's all he did. He did it before the game.
Right.
He did it last week, and I called it. Listen, just second guessing. Right. I said, stop going after Notre Dame. Notre Dame's not the issue here.
Go after Bama and Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bama and Miami get in, and Notre Dame's out.
Right. So he wasted his time. At BYU, I asked Kalani about it yesterday. Well, the committee has a hard job. Rip them. Go ahead and rip them. Rip. Oh, you don't rip. If you don't want to rip the committee because there's individuals on it and Harlan's on there and all that, rip the system. Big shots in radio and TV. They like to be, look at me. I'll rip the NCAA. We don't hear that as much anymore. But when you rip the NCAA, you aren't ripping anybody. So no one's going to come at you and call you out saying, what'd you do that for? Rip the system then. You don't have to rip a group or an individual because then you can get away. You can be tough guy and there's no accountability. It's like a local guy ripping somebody from out of town. I more respect if you rip the people in town and they actually hear it and then you show up at the next game and see them face to face. They'll actually respect you a whole heck of a lot more if you do that. Believe me. I've seen it as recently as you would say Saturday when an administrator came up to me and said that very thing to me on the field. So I thought BYU underplayed itself, should have gone stronger. This needs to be done. It needs to be. What matters more? For BYU, the losses matter more than the wins. For Alabama, the win against Georgia matters more than the losses. Why? We got 2 different standards here. You lost to Florida State by 14 points. They went 2-7 in a crappy ACC.
Forgiven. Early in the year, we got better.
If your market scheduled them Oklahoma State instead of Texas Tech, they would have been 12-0. And they would only had 1 loss. And there wouldn't have been, wow, they got blown away twice. They lost to Tech 63-14 in combined scores. It's hard to do, but if I'm your Mark, try to figure out, give them as cushy a schedule as possible in the league. Don't make the league schedules year to year. Don't have these cycles. Don't do that.
They did a 4-year cycle.
Don't do that.
So that everybody gets to play.
Screw that. There's nobody cares in Tempe if you're playing in Lawrence. Nobody is just dying to see that Kansas ASU game. And if they figure out they're good, then BYU, give them Oklahoma State. Give them all the crappy teams next year.
That's what A&M got.
So stop that.
A&M rode the bottom half of the league.
Obviously. Yeah. I mean, their record, the conference record was, Barry Trimble was on Friday saying it was like 1945 or something.
Horrible.
Or Thursday when he came on.
So there was a thing that came out of the conversation with Notre Dame yesterday, PK, that beginning next year, they have a provision now going forward in the playoff that if Notre Dame is inside the top 12, they will be contractually guaranteed a spot.
Yeah, and also all 4 leagues are guaranteed a spot, no more of the top 5. So this is the only time we're going to see the 2 G5s edge out of Power 5.
Yeah, but does that change the conversation we're having here? In your
that's
opinion?
a start. Yeah, we need to totally overhaul it. And everybody loves, like I said, everybody loves diversity as long as it's not replacing you. The hardcore lefty will tell you all about it. Yeah, I want more of female refs. Well, I want a female commissioner. Wait a second here. Well, let's get him on with the broadcaster. Okay, your contract is up. I want a black female being the play-by-play person. Wait a second. They don't like that. So it's like, yeah, let's let the group of 5 or 6, whatever the heck they are, let them in. Now I got 2 in? This sucks because they're taking my spot.
Fact.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that factored into Miami getting leaked in, like we got to have an ACC team.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
So you have a chance to revamp the system and get it right.
Okay, they're not going to get it right.
Why not? Or get it right.
They just revamped the system.
Get it more right.
They just revamped the system 2 years ago because we had so much complaining about the 4-team
right.
system.
But you're not going to go from bad to 100%. Mm-hmm. So if you can get to 70 to 80% and then eventually get to 90%, what's wrong with that?
To back up PK's point, is that yesterday Alabama lost in the SEC championship, didn't pay the price for it. BYU did, thereby allowing Miami to jump into the field because of a head-to-head.
Yeah.
Why are these rules not uniformly applied?
Why does the head-to-head matter when you're 10-11 and it doesn't matter when you're 10-12?
I'm just saying,
what is
this
that?
needs to be uniformly applied across the board.
So we've seen
Bama
the
should
mistakes.
have taken a hit.
I'm not going to criticize the committee and the people for not being perfect. I couldn't be anything less than perfect. Whatever the opposite of perfect is, that's what I am in certain areas. There's no doubt about it. So I get it. So I'm not come in here and just blast Mark Harlan. Well, what good does that do? That doesn't do anything. But let's see. Here's where and admit there's flaws, not necessarily mistakes, but flaws.
Well, the flaws is
so then let's change them. Let's make them better.
There's so few data points because they play so few games, and so there's so many questions out there. You know, you want to just go on the record, but that's hard because, as you've pointed out, like, everybody's schedule isn't the same. Even inside the league, it's just wildly
not only
all over
that,
the
they
place.
don't even play the same amount of games.
I know. And that changes next year. That's one thing they're going to get right. The SEC and ACC are going to 9-game schedules.
Well, I'm talking about a conference title game.
Oh, yeah, 13 and 12, that's still going to exist.
Yeah.
But I do think there's momentum to get rid of the conference title games. That weekend, and it just comes back to money because the answer to all your questions is money, that weekend could be better served instead of having 4 conference title games for the 4 power leagues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could have, I mean, there are other conference title games, obviously, but you could have 8 playoff games.
Yeah, sort of like what the NBA is doing, a play-in or whatever. I mean,
that's the other thing they could do.
You want.
It's say, hey, we could create, if there were 3 games in each league, that's 12 games. We'll make more money off 12 games.
Right. If money's the issue, then have more games and have it be more universal. We're dealing with people that are getting into a situation and they're trying to find right answers where there are no right answers. So they're doing the best they can, and they come up with a bracket, and away we go. I don't necessarily remember last year's, but it seems like this year was way worse, way more controversial, way more head scratching. But they got all these people, all these data points coming all at them. So it's pointless to go rip Ivan Maisel, who's on the committee.
He
right?
is.
They're trying to figure it
writer.
out. Take rather than, oh, you guys suck, you're an embarrassment. No, here's where we need to relook at it. Get the heads of the 4 families together as Brett Yormark said.
It always comes back to The Godfather.
He's a Jersey guy. Just like me. We grew up about 10 minutes apart. And, okay, here's where we need to improve upon it. And I did ask him on Saturday, well, you keep talking about you support the 5 and 11. When are we going to get there? I don't know. He's not optimistic that it'll be for next season. He's literally told us that. You can go listen. It's on our website about that. That was my question. You keep talking about it. Well, I'm tired of talking about it. Give me some dates. When's it going to happen? Is it going to happen? You support it. Well, big deal. Now, what's going to happen in terms of it actually being implemented? And he said, and obviously he's got a million more knowledgeable points about it than I do, says that, hey, I'm not optimistic about next year because we have to look at all these other things.
Yeah,
Fine, I get that.
I just don't know how empowered the committee is because the committee's created by the Big Ten and SEC. The Big Ten and SEC are running this. They literally get to run this.
It's as much empowerment as it wants. Once you're on the committee, you can make the rules. Who's going to tell you no?
For 1 year.
Fine.
And then they dissolve the committee. Because the Big Ten and SEC are running this.
Yeah. They're going to always have a committee. You're going to have judges. This is a beauty contest that's not bracketed. So you'll always have they won't get rid of the committee. They'll always have a version of it. And once you're on it, and I don't, do they change it every year? I don't know. How long is the tenure? You only get 1 year? I have no idea. Then they have a baseline, and then they can build from it. And you can build each year and figure out, okay, we did this, and this worked, but that didn't work as much. So then we can tweak that, but we can keep this. It's not that complicated, and you're never going to please everybody because if you go to 12, there's a 13th team. If you go to 16, there's a 17th team, and so forth and so on. So we understand
but it gets to
that.
the point where nobody cares.
Right.
I mean,
Nobody
NCAA
really cares
basketball
about
at
it, but,
68.
But you can't have 68 or 69.
No, but I do think at football, I think we're going to see in a 1 versus 16 tournament, I just think the separation at the top, you're just going to get blowouts. And we saw a lot of blowouts. It's only 1 year.
What difference does it make? So what? It's about money.
Because
you're looking,
that's why,
you're looking
the
at
money,
competition.
The
Who
money
cares?
is why I think it's going to 24 now. And I used to think it was going to 16.
Fine. And
now
so
I think
if
it's
one
going
plays
past 16.
24 and they get blown out, so
well,
what?
the 1 versus 24 protects that because there'll be 8 buys.
I understand that, but I'm making a little point, not a literal actuality. But the rights are paid ahead of time, and they'll get the money. Mm-hmm. They'll get the billions.
Contract's written, right?
Yeah. So I'm not. That's fanboy stuff to worry about the quality of the game. So what? I mean, we'll see it. Nothing against these two teams, but I don't expect James Madison to put up much of a fight.
No.
And they're not. We didn't get the 12 best teams. That's the whole goal. And do away with automatic bids. Do away with everybody's in the same boat. And the G5, if you're good enough, you're in. If you're not, you're not. But have a qualification and a standard that they can meet to be able to get the opportunity. Not because we have to have some inclusivity, so we're going to give them a bone. No, we're done with that.
I think as long as there's a committee, we're going to have these segments to talk about. I think that if it gets more NFL, which is what the Big Ten's pushing, we'll see if the SEC signs off on it because they're the only two who matter right now, that then you have a weekend of playing games to get into a 16 or 2014 tournament. And you just know you have to get top 6 to get into your conference play-ins. Other than that, we're going to have this because they're splitting hairs and nobody's going to agree on how to do that.